Good morning. We'd like to welcome you to the BlackUSA.News morning show. My name is Donnie Glover. We're here with Kavette Kane co-hosting. Good morning, Kavette.
Good morning, Donnie. Good morning, Black USA.
How you been? We missed you last week.
I was a little under the weather, as you might say, but I'm feeling much better now and glad to be back. Thank you.
We're glad you're back. Okay, so we're going to Harlem today, Kavette. Are you ready?
I'm ready. I got my second one.
So obviously COVID has been, a nuisance, a pain, a challenge for the entire world. And months ago, we connected with Tammeca to learn about her business, Harlem Cycle, harlem-cycle.com, and how she was handling the pandemic. So without further ado, we welcome Tammeca Rochester. She's a hustler, bona fide. How you doing?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me, guys. I'm super excited about this.
Good.
Thank you for being with us. We're excited to hear about all that you have going on up there in Harlem right now.
Good. We got a lot going on.
Yeah. So you started Harlem Cycle back in 2016. What was your motivation?
So for me, I was really looking for a great workout option for myself at the time. And I had just, I discovered indoor cycling. I love the aspect of, riding with a group and listening to music. But at the time I was going to the downtown studios, so I wasn't loving the music. I was just kind of there, just taking what was given to me. And I, was like, wow, are they ever going to play anything that I really like? But, it was convenient. So they had the nice studios. They had the convenience of booking on time and just showing up and getting your bike. But I was like, it's just not enough to keep me wanting to come back. And so I discovered like the YMCA in Harlem, which had the music that I love, but it missed everything else. Bikes were always broken. You had to like come an hour in advance, put your name on a list, and then maybe you get in the class. So the convenience was completely gone. The facilities was gone. And then one day I was just like, I'm just so tired of always having to compromise. We always have to give up something. And this is us taking care of our health and wellness. This is me doing my self-care. This is me taking care of my health. And I didn't understand why there was always a compromise in something that was so important. And so I realized, one day I was like, wow, I wonder if any of these downtown studios would ever think about coming uptown. And the moment I said that, it was like a light bulb went off and said, well, if they did come uptown, it would just be a downtown studio uptown. It wouldn't be what I wanted. It'd still be a compromise. And so that day I went home, started putting together my business plan, and 4 months later, we opened our doors.
Awesome. Congratulations on that. Absolutely. And I know it was a feat in order to be able to do it. There's a lot that goes into behind the scenes, entrepreneurship, how many hats you wear and how many challenges you have to overcome. But the thing that we're celebrating is that you were able to do it. And how are you guys doing now? So it's been 5 years. Oh my gosh. When is your anniversary?
Our anniversary, technically, we signed our lease February 1st, and our first class was April 2nd. So, thank you.
Absolutely, we're glad to celebrate that here with you on BlackUSA.News. Absolutely. So, how has COVID affected business and how you're able to reach out to the community?
So, we've almost been closed for a full year. So March 15th was the last day we had in-person classes in Harlem. And I mean, I would have never in my wildest dreams imagined being closed for a full year. So, we had to quickly pivot. Within a week, we started doing live stream classes. We started video recording some of our classes to have clients just kind of rent them and give us feedback as far as our online presence. And then from there, we've created a subscription model. So now we have an online program where you have over 100 workouts. We have nutrition component of it where we've interviewed some of Harlem top chefs. We do challenges, we do mobility. So it's a little bit more than just like, so in this year, our business is actually taking a different turn. So we're not just a cycling studio now. We're a full wellness studio. We have the nutrition, we have the recovery, we have the mobility, lots and lots of different kinds of workout models. And they've all been online, and we're continuing to grow. So hopefully one day we'll get to see people again in person.
But that is an absolutely fabulous platinum lining. Great crowd. I mean, come on. You guys have expanded your business on so many levels, due to COVID. Unfortunately, COVID has, wreaked havoc around the world, around the globe. But we've been able to see how truly our human drive to thrive has come through and overcome. And you're absolutely an example of that. And we're so proud of you for having that spirit. And of course, the team that you're working with to be able to make that happen, because, no one does it alone.
Yeah.
But you've got to have a vision in order to make that happen. So we're very happy that you're here sharing your vision with us today. So you were on a personal journey. How did that personal journey start for you in the very beginning?
Yeah, I had recently had my son. So I have a 9-year-old. And I was, I somehow had the genetics that after I had my son, I actually was able to go back to my original weight. So it was more of it wasn't about weight loss. It was about me time. Like, at the time I was a single mom. Every time I came home, it was, I'm listening to ABCs when I want to listen to reggae and soca, because that's what I grew up with. I couldn't even get my own music in my own home. And so I was looking for ways to connect back with myself. And for me, when I grew up in Atlanta, and so I always loved riding my bike. It was all about riding your bike up and down the neighborhood. Yes, I'm from Atlanta.
Oh, I rode a bike in Atlanta, and I'm not one for bike lanes. But when I rode a bike in Atlanta,
you know where to ride. Yeah, you rode in your neighborhood. You have to ride in your neighborhood. You don't just venture out to the streets.
No, you don't. No, you don't, because there's no bike lane in Atlanta.
Not one. Right over. Yes. But see, I grew up in a neighborhood where, it was a lot of kids, and the neighbors knew when you come down the streets, you got to be careful because all of us are in the streets riding our bikes. And so that was my happiest moments when I think back of childhood. That to me represented childhood, like riding your bikes.
Yeah.
And so I was like, well, I'm going to start riding my bike. Everybody in New York rides a bike. I see it all the time. That was like the most foolish idea ever.
It's not Atlanta.
It's not Atlanta.
And it's not like the movies.
It's not like the movies. People out here are professional riders, and these taxis do not play. They're it's crazy. I rented a bike.
People was in. That's what I get a picture in my head. Her racing through the city.
That was it. Well, actually, not racing me, walking my bike through the city because I was so scared I had to get off the bike.
Wow. Yeah.
And at the time, my son was 6 months old, and I got one of those bikes with a little seat and put him on the back and thought, this is going to be the best thing ever. It was.
Rewind.
It was a mess. But I was so heartbroken over it because I thought, wow, this is me living out my childhood and introducing my son at such an early age to this, and it was going to be so amazing and magical and all this, and it was literally a nightmare. I actually told a friend about it at work, and she's like, girl, who told you to go out in the streets in New York City? Apparently everybody knew it was foolish but me.
Well, it's like what you have at home, and you
exactly
where you are, and you can't always do that.
You can't do it. And so she exposed me to indoor cycling, which I loved at first because I was like, oh, great. It's like all adults, like you're listening to music. We're all here for the same reason. And so the first couple of times I was like, okay, I can do this. This is great. It's like my me time. But then I was like, if this is really my me time, I would really rather listen to this and not this. And then also, as a Black woman, in my career, I started as a mechanical engineer. So I'm used to being the only one in the room, whether being a female, whether being someone of color, always being the only one. But on my downtime and my weekends, I choose not to be. I choose to live in communities that reflect my culture, where I can walk up the street and, I was born in Jamaica, and I was raised by my mom and dad who were 100% Jamaican. Exactly. So I choose to walk up the street and can get the beef patty and whatever I need and all my groceries from a Jamaican cultural store. And so, I choose to live in my neighborhood and be around my culture when I can. Now, my career took me outside of my culture, but on my downtime, I choose to be around places where I feel more comfortable. And so I realized when I was going to these cycling studios that this is my me time, but I'm not comfortable. I'm not comfortable existing as who I really am.
Yeah.
And I was like, this has to change. I don't want to do this anymore. I didn't want to be the only one in the room on my downtime.
Mm-hmm. So now this kind of started for you. Was it really a side hustle when you first started, or did you go full on into the business?
I would say I was 100% in the business, but I was still working full time.
Okay.
So my full-time job became the side hustle. They just didn't know it.
That's funding your future. Absolutely.
I knew 100% that this was going to be where I wanted to be. And this wasn't just something I was going to do and see how it goes. This was something I was going to devote myself to and making sure that it was going to be successful. But I also had to fund it myself, and my fiance helped fund it. And so we were privately funding. And when you open a business, if you expect profits, then you did not do your business plan correctly, because there is no profit when you first open.
That's what they tell us, the hype.
Yeah, it's the hype. It's the hype. Like even if you were doing something before on the side and now you pivoted to do something that's a little bit, it's still a transition, right? You have to transition, and the funds aren't going to just show up for you like you thought they would.
Right.
And so the first year I could maintain my full-time position.
Absolutely. That's the smartest thing. Sometimes entrepreneurs or young people, I would say, new ones coming into, with that not understanding how business works, and the fact that it is a garden. You've got to till the soil and plant the seed, and then water it and nurture it and make sure that it, watch it grow.
Absolutely.
Oh, you build it and they will come. And no, that was a movie.
That was a movie. And we're still the first and only cycling studio in Harlem. And I can tell you, we built it, but they didn't necessarily come.
Right.
Like, we had to educate the neighborhood on what indoor cycling was. When we first opened, people were bringing their bikes here, thinking we were a bike shop. It was like a continuous process. But then also, because we were the first and only, that means most of the people in our neighborhood had seen indoor cycling, but not from a culturally appropriate perspective. So they were like looking at Soul Cycle and Flywheel and looking at all the little skinny ponytails and and listening to that kind of music, and just was like, this isn't what I want to do. So they were already turned off from it in the first place. And then we had to re-educate them, like, oh no, you don't have to listen to that. We can listen to something else. We can do other things. So it was still that kind of education process for the neighborhood.
Yeah, absolutely. We find that in our community a lot. We have to re-educate because of the exposure to other communities who have these kinds of businesses. And when we switch it over to our culture, then we have to help our community embrace it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So we've talked about Atlanta, and that's a burgeoning mecca of culture. We talked about Harlem. Clearly the mecca of Black America. We talked about Jamaica. I have a book out, Unapologetically Black, but my next book does touch on some of Jamaica. The book is on Black Wall Street, but I don't know if you would know this because I didn't know of your Jamaican ancestry, but one of the most famous, favorite people in the whole wide world is the woman on the $500 Jamaican bill, Queen Nanny. And Queen Nanny was a liberator.
Nanny of the Maroons, yes.
For those who don't know, who was Nanny?
Nanny was, she was the leader of what we call the Maroons, who liberated a lot of Jamaicans as slavery was on the island. She led a revolt against the capturers, and as a Black woman leading a revolt, you can automatically imagine how difficult and but she was the leader of that revolt, and she led us through. She led that revolt. Ended up killing. I forgot the numbers, but she killed a lot of the slave owners in Jamaica.
And she was able to negotiate a treaty for Moortown. So when you come from a place like Jamaica with a freedom fighter, I think she's like Harriet Tubman. They're like side by side.
Yeah.
loved about Nanny, just like with Harriet had that Colt 45. Nanny had
she had the machete. Yeah, she took them out.
You got that machete.
And so when you think of that culture, that history, and so much has come out of Jamaica. Bob Marley, Peter Tosh, Marcus Mosiah Garvey.
Yes, and Tammeca Rochester. Yes.
And you know what, girl? I had to tell you, I love your name, and I love the fact that it is very similar to mine in that it is one of a kind. I'm easily able to find you on social media and online. And so where can folks connect with you for more information?
So online, you can always find me at Harlem Cycle or at Tammeca_Rochester. So, but you have to spell my name right.
That's right.
It's spelled Tammeca.
Right, Tammeca, I want to say. yeah.
So, Tammeca, how have you been received in New York City? Has New York, as Harlem Cycle has emerged, and congratulations on 5 years of business. How has it just came to me. Something happened recently.
What?
Did your neighbors, you have some other friends, Harlem Cycle, the lady at the bark shop, but there's some Black vendors. I thought something happened and the neighbors in Harlem came and helped I don't know.
So we actually had a break-in back in October. Yes. Okay. We had a break-in in October, and they've been hitting almost, at least one business a week. Whoever this person is or whoever they are, it's just out of control right now. And we had a break-in in October, which is devastating because we've been closed for so long. And, right now businesses can't take these extra expenses. We don't have it. We don't have it. Like whatever they think, we don't have it. And so we had a break-in in October. I got a call from the police that, that something happened. And I come to the studio and literally our front door was knocked and kicked down, glass broken everywhere. It was just devastating. At that moment, it was a complete breakdown for me because I felt like we had worked so hard to keep going, to keep the momentum going, to provide we've been doing so many free services online and doing free classes online just to keep people moving. And we were doing all this for the community. And to have something like that just happen was just so devastating.
Yeah.
And then it was just heartbreak. Honestly, I literally couldn't even imagine how someone could do something like that, And then I was like, well, what were you looking for? We've been closed for so long. What were we going to do? Try to walk out of here with a bike? It logically just didn't even make sense. It doesn't even make sense. You just destroyed something for no reason. But that day, literally I posted a picture and I was so angry that this happened. And within 10 minutes, clients just started showing up at the door. And other business owners just started showing up and they were cleaning up and I'm in tears, oh no, I got it. I'm fine. It's glass. I'm okay. And literally they were like, girl, let's sit down.
But that's how,
right.
That's,
it was just so heartwarming. And we ended up putting together a quick GoFundMe and within, I think, 10, 11 hours, we surpassed the goal and people were just donating and we were getting these really heartfelt messages. It was crazy. It was overwhelmingly. So it was such a dark moment that was really amazing at the end. Because, all this time
you got to write a book.
They showed up and showed out. Yes.
COVID was already the punch. You were already, I imagine you damn, And then on top of that,
the seriousness of that, Tammeca, he's right. Writing a book, especially about your story, is what will keep it as something for others to reference and to remember. And that's what we need to remember in our community. A lot of times we'll think, oh, my story's not that big a deal. Who wants to read about that? But we do want to read it. We do want to capture it. We do want to make sure that it is recorded so that we have it to reference for the future. And what you've experienced is unique. It is not unique, but it is, it's your experience in the uniqueness, but it's at the same time, you will find that there are so many other people who can relate to what you've gone through. So please take that advice.
It
You
is unique in that 40% of Black businesses have died.
They've closed. They have closed.
Yeah.
And to not come back. So what I've seen is, you know, the I like to call them the global minorities. The global minority companies are all filing bankruptcy in Chapter 11, but they're still getting all the grants and they're still getting all the funding. They're just repivoting. They're coming back, and they're coming back stronger. And they're opening up more businesses, and they're taking advantage of these, you know, lease options, and so they're getting out of their high end leases and coming back. But we're closing, and we're closing for good, and that's a problem. We're not using the same strategy. We don't have the same resources.
Yeah.
We don't. We look at debt as a bad thing, like to go Chapter 11 and we're not going to do that. Oh my God, no, there's no way we're going to go through those things.
That when that happens to us, it's magnified.
Yes.
You know, it's the same as I recently saw a story about real estate and how if your home is a really nice home in a nice community, you better take down all of your family pictures, because otherwise you're going to get, you know, a 20, percent, 30% devaluation on the value of your home. You know, and so the same thing exists with our businesses, where we're not receiving the same support because of who we are. You know, our community is not supported outside of our community, but that is why it's so essential for us as Black USA to come together. You know,
absolutely.
That was a perfect example of how we can come together and help our own businesses to survive, but not just survive, to thrive.
Exactly. To thrive, to be just like them, pivoting and growing.
How did that make you feel? And what did those feelings do for you in order to get you to where you are today?
So, it was overwhelming, because we've been, you know, we're seeing some of our clients virtually, but not to the level of in studio classes. Like we're down to about maybe 15% of our regular clientele. And so, you know, all this time I'm like, well, do we still have clients when we open up? Will they still come back? Like, you know, it's always those questions in the back of your mind. Will people come back? Are they watching all the effort that we're doing? Like, are they seeing all the effort and all the things that we're doing? And it was like, wait a minute, they're still out there. They still love us. They still care. They still recognize the value that we bring to the community. And that was overwhelming. That made me want to work harder. That made me want to put out more content. That made me want to create more workouts, more challenges, more like all these other great things. It made me want to, you know, go out and pivot and create all these other things. And which I needed that, you know, as an entrepreneur, you have to be self-motivated, but there are days that you are not motivated. There are days that you want to lay in bed, cover up, and be like, forget about it. Right?
Noni said that's real.
That is real. And so sometimes you need that external motivation. You need to see that love come through from your community, that all of your work has not been in vain. And that's what they showed up for us. And it was amazing. And so it helped us, you know, redo our door. But it also helped us upgrade our security system, which we needed to do. Mm-hmm. We upgraded our security system, but then we also redid our flooring. So the studio is even better than ever now. I can't wait till people come back and see how nice the studio is.
Nice. Well, you got to do a video tour and
yes. Like all this work. I mean, even when the thing, when we first shut down, I was like, oh, well, this is a great time to repaint, because we were open 7 days a week. And so there was never a time that we could paint, because also you got to make sure fumes and all this. And I was like, I'm not shutting down for 2 or 3 days. That's crazy.
If someone had to ask you, Tammeca, about the camaraderie in the Black community, what would you say? And say the camaraderie in the Black business community.
The camaraderie in the Black business community is alive and well, and that's what makes us flourish. I honestly know that I can at any moment reach out to another Black business owner, and they will tell me hard-on facts, truths, and give me all the resources that they can, and to help me grow. And I always see those like Instagram posts about how Black people are bringing each other down. I'm like, that's foolishness. That's your inner circle. That's not reality.
No. Well, what that is propaganda, because what we see more often than not is that the statistics show our true strength. And if we actually look and do the research, but not only that, reach out and embrace one another, then we will not only see the truth, but we will experience it.
We experience it. Like partnerships, all these things come through by being connected back to your community and being connected to business owners who have the same sense and values that you have.
Absolutely.
So, with that said, you have an election there in New York City, I believe, June 22nd. And of course, I'm a political junkie. I've been watching Eric B. Adams, the Brooklyn Borough president. Of course, we did a Black Wall Street Award in Brooklyn Borough Hall a few years back, where I first met him. I also met him in Harlem up at the Harlem Business Alliance. But you also have the downtown Wall Street guy, Ray McGuire, from there. I caught him on Clubhouse, and he was in a room. It was MC Hammer, Gayle King, and another famous Black person. So you've got, Eric B. Adams, the former cop running for mayor. You've got Ray McGuire, guy. But you also have some district races. And so how have you had a chance to pay attention at all to the political things going on all around your business? Was really bringing things to the forefront in the middle of COVID.
Right. So for me, I haven't, with the mayoral race, there's like 100 candidates. I'm like, where are all these candidates just coming out of the woodworks? It's like everybody just threw their name in and was like, I'm going to run for mayor of New York City, But for me, when I'm looking for my candidate, I'm like, well, where have you been? What have you been doing all this time? I don't, and also I'm looking for people who can actually relate back to the community. So there's been a couple of candidates who, from just conversations and things that they've said, clearly shows they have no idea what people go through and what the average person goes through at all. And so they're automatically out for me.
So tell me, what does the average person go through? What does a mayoral candidate, a city council candidate, what ought they keep in mind to get Tammeca Rochester's vote?
So one, I mean, if they're even taking a look at what's happening with COVID, they should be taking a look at these urban communities and our minority communities, where majority of us are the essential workers, where we're dying at a higher rate than everyone else. But the reason we're dying is because of food scarcity, and we're also not having same access to healthcare. So if they're not talking about those two subjects, that's a problem for me, because this affects so many members of so many people within New York City alone. Food deserts are real. You can barely find, you walk up and down the street, there's one or two good grocery stores, and then the rest are just all you're getting junk food. Like, this is a terrible place and a terrible reason why we're the ones that are at the highest rate of dying from cardiovascular diseases and heart diseases, and we're the ones with the diabetes and all the other things that have been life-threatening to us and are affecting us even more now because of COVID. Also, access to quality healthcare, not these free clinics that you sit outside for a solid 4 hours just to get a basic checkup.
Right. But not only that, going to the doctors and feeling like someone really cares.
Exactly. And having, doctors that actually care about you, but also have studied you. Mm-hmm. Because we all know Western medicine was not based off of our culture and things that affect our body. So I need a doctor who knows that me being a certain BMI does not mean that I'm obese and I'm about to die. That just means that Black people don't follow the BMI scale, and the BMI was based off of a white man in the first place. So I need a doctor who knows that.
Right.
And so I'm looking for candidates who actually have been in touch with these kinds of topics, because to me, health and wellness is the most important thing. Like, no matter how much money we have, no matter where we live, you can't out-cheat your health. Like, you can be the richest person with bad health and you're still not going to live a good life.
I'm going to say this facetiously, but I thought you had a Whole Foods in Harlem.
Yes, we do. And it's at the Whole Foods prices. So it did not feel again.
Regularly.
How far do you have to go to get like ginger, onions, garlic? Do you have to go far?
No, well, you have those smaller grocery stores that have those things, but the quality is
crap.
Right, you're picking through like old food that's expired, and you're like, why am I picking through old onions? Like, we can't even keep onions up to date in a grocery store. That makes no sense to me.
Well, it's because grocery stores are on the food chain too. So we got to recognize, where are they getting their food from?
Exactly.
Whole Foods may be getting it first, and then after a little bit, then they pass it down to the next, the inexpensive grocery store. And then after it's been there and hasn't sold for a little while, then your local, grocery store is getting it. And that's the challenge. So that's why we have to look at not just our resources, but what is the source for our resources. And in our community, that is absolutely essential for us at this time, to create a source so that we can have better quality.
Yeah.
What else have you run out of? What else is hard to find?
In just grocery stores or in general? I also get always annoyed at the cultural section, that one little shelf that has my Jamaican everything. Yeah. Like, why is it one shelf when 40% of my community is from a Caribbean, ancestry? Like, why are we just one shelf?
Right. Right.
And so that annoys me. Sometimes I've literally had to rent a car and drive out to Brooklyn to get what I want to cook my, and to me, honoring your heritage is liberation.
Yes.
Like, I shouldn't have to eat what you told me to eat. If I look back at my family in Jamaica, they're all healthy. They're all, living the life. But us who've come over to the U.S., we're the ones that are overweight. We're the ones that are suffering from these health crises because we're trying to eat foods that culturally aren't appropriate for us.
Right. Absolutely.
Right. So, wow. So I'm hearing a need for food. Candidates have to pay attention to the food. I live in a food desert, 2 miles. 2 miles of a food desert. And healthcare, you're absolutely right. So we talked about the candidates they have to pivot too. Back in, pre-COVID, they could knock on doors. They could, physical interaction. But now a candidate can't be as.
Yeah.
Let me bring in Marsha Jew. She used to have a business there in Harlem. Hey, Marsha, we have Quebec.
Hey, Marsha. Good morning.
Good morning. Welcome, everybody.
And this is Tammeca Rochester. This is Marsha Jew. She used to have a art store there on 116th?
No, 124 and St. Nick.
Oh, okay, close.
Yeah. Yes, as a matter of fact, Q-Man was open on the other corner on Frederick Douglass, and I was on the other side.
Nice. I know exactly where that is then.
Yep. Now it's a dry cleaners, I think.
So, Marsha, we've covered so much from Tammeca's Jamaican ancestry to the food desert to what candidates need to understand in terms of healthcare, quality healthcare. We talked about how to pivot. Tammeca unfortunately had someone broke in her Harlem cycle back in October. But before I could shed a tear about how devastating that was, the post I saw that just, was how Harlem came out for her.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
That's right.
Come on, Marsha. Say hello.
Good morning, Tammeca. Good morning, Quebec. Good morning, Donnie. And so, Tammeca, do you still have your cycle business?
Yeah, we still have our cycling studio, and we're even on schedule to open our second studio at the end of this year.
Oh, that's wonderful!
So, congratulations.
Where are they located?
First one is between 137th and 138 on Adam Clayton Powell.
Okay.
And then our second studio will come to 125th between Lenox and 5th. So I did that new high rise that came up.
I love it. So Donnie and I were talking back in the day on Fifth Avenue. We had Walter here talking about what they did at 1600 on Fifth, the beautiful building and condos that are on the corner. Mm-hmm. So you're further east?
We're right beside that, the new Chipotle. So we're further east between Lenox, right in front of Marcus Garvey Park.
Oh, okay.
So my back door is Marcus Garvey Park.
Oh, that's too bad. That's wonderful. So what made you decide to have this business?
So I really just wanted a better option for myself, to be honest. It was designed around myself. And I think that's actually what's made us successful is, you know, when I opened Harlem Cycle, I didn't have a fitness background. And so I designed it around the customer experience and what I thought was missing. And so I was looking for a studio that was warm and inviting when you came in, but also I felt was non-judgmental. And then also played the music and the tunes that really made my soul kind of want to, you know, stay focused and get into this workout, and kind of made me want to thrive in my health and wellness. And so indoor cycling to me was the easiest workout to get back into. One, because it's low impact, but two, because it's just so much fun.
Yeah,
it's so much fun, and you can burn so many calories. It's easier on your joints. And so that was my transition into like full out fitness, was to start in indoor cycling. And then when I got in there, I was like, oh, I love this. I love the music. I love having people ride to a beat. I just didn't like the beats I was hearing.
Right. So create your own.
Yes.
She changed it up from what she saw to make it convenient and comfortable and embracing for our community. And that's what we're seeing with many businesses. When we, you know, experience them in other communities, when we transition, we have to make it culturally correct for us. You know, something we can truly enjoy. So you talked about moms and the time that you needed to have for, you know, away from your son, not just, you know, singing the ABC songs at home.
How old is your son?
Well, now he's 9.
Yeah. So how have you been able to reach out even now in your pivot online, you know, building your community and making sure that other moms are able to benefit from that as well?
Yeah. So even with our online program, there's a family section that it's me and my son doing the workouts. And we've gotten such great feedback because, you know, he starts out focused, and like all other kids, halfway through, it's like, I don't even know what he's doing anymore back there. But, you know, he's having fun and he's moving. And we've gotten the feedback from parents like, oh my God, my son does the exact same thing. He's only focused for 10 minutes. I'm like, the goal is to just keep them moving. Like, they don't have to do a perfect jumping jack. It's to keep them moving, but also it's enough that you can stay focused on your workout while they're dancing with Mikey in the back and doing whatever they're doing. And so to me, he's as much a part of this business as I am. When you come into the studio, he's usually at the front desk, and he sometimes checks people in. He's the best front desk manager ever.
I love it. You trained him well.
You know about that, Marcia. You know, your grandson is very active himself as well.
Yeah, he's 12 and he'll be 13 this week. And he has his own agenda, his own idea, his own plans, and he can manage, and he goes with me when I'm out doing conferences. But that's what it's about, exposing your children. And, you know, train them up the way they should go. And if you show them all the things that they're supposed to do when they're young, then they can't help but naturally fall into all of the right things when they have that, as they used to say back in the day, good home training.
Absolutely. I have to say that all the time. You better act like you got some home training.
So, Tammeca, how has the business climate been? So when COVID first hit, you know, when we first interviewed you, I guess it's almost a year now. We were talking about resources available for you. Were you able to take advantage of any of the pandemic COVID relief money?
Yeah. So this is, again, the power of having a good network of business owners. Now, when all these pandemic things came out, I was like, oh my God, how are we gonna get any of this? Reached out to my business owners. We put together a little WhatsApp group, and we started doing monthly calls. And we were like, oh, you have an accountant that helped you? This is the bank you went to? We all are going to the same accountant, the same bank. Exactly. And so from Harlem Cycle, we were able to get we got the PPP, we got the EIDL, but, you know, also what's come out of all of this is that there's a lot of private grants now available that weren't available before. Right. So, you know, there is now a new focus on minority-owned businesses. And I spend most of my days applying to these grants because these grants were never here before, and they probably won't be here after. This is our time to get those funding. And so I'm getting every single one of them.
Awesome. We have to take advantage of the opportunity.
We have to
know about the opportunity in order to take advantage of it. So it's amazing that you guys are communicating the way you are.
And
Was
that
there,
you're an organization that you've, connected, and
Yeah.
you have the same vision, right?
Exactly.
I
And
guess,
there's something in power in numbers.
I guess what I'm asking, Tammeca, was there any entity that made their presence known to Harlem Cycle? Like, hey, we have resources for you. We want you to stay in business. Did anybody call you, knock on your door?
You know what? The people that call and are always like, "Oh, we got these great loan products," and I'm like, "I don't need no loans. I need grants.
Right.
I don't need money that I can't pay back because I am a closed business." So we got a lot of the loan products coming towards us and calling me all the time, like, "Here's these great loans," and I'm like, "What's the interest?"
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, and I kind of look at loans sometimes as like that's the shark mentality. Like they
Right.
know we're drowning, and then they try to get you something that was only going to keep you under. But no, there was no specific entity that I can think of off the top of my head that I'd be like, yeah, they really threw me that life.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta ask you, what about Industrial Bank?
Industrial Bank? Riding outside, you mean?
Well, no, Industrial Bank. It's a Black-owned bank. I know they started in Washington, D.C., and I think they opened a branch in Harlem.
I don't know of them. I don't know who they are.
Now you do.
Yeah.
Where are they located, Donnie?
Yeah.
I want to say, what's the street that the Adam Clayton Powell statue is on?
125th?
Yes, 125th and the cross street. It's 125th, the main street.
Yes.
Industrial Bank. I gotta look them up.
Industrial Bank. Yeah, they started out in D.C. They just opened a branch in Harlem and one in, I want to say Newark, New Jersey.
When did they do that, Donnie? That's great.
In 2020, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, that's an interesting time to do it.
Well, maybe they were taking advantage of opportunity, that presented itself with COVID too.
Yeah.
To make adjustments. We've all had to pivot, and we've seen some growth, so that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, what I'm seeing is you see those businesses that, a lot of our businesses have closed, but I'm seeing a lot of like our restaurants are opening a second and third location.
Mm-hmm.
So there, those who've been able to kind of navigate the system and navigate those things are doing well and are growing, which is amazing.
I was so amazed when I came there to see the restaurants had taken over the streets. What's that like?
It's so they have the open streets now, where indoor dining just came back last Friday. So all this time there was no indoor dining, and so you could only do outdoor dining. And so they built these little outdoor structures where it's 50% of it is open because it's but they've taken over like the bike lanes as well as the sidewalk. I love them. In the summertime, it was great.
Still no biking in New York.
No biking. No, forget about biking in New York. But it's really great because it's outdoor. You don't feel the sense of no circulation, and I thought it was great in the summertime because how often do we get to eat al fresco outside and enjoy nature? So I thought it was really great. And in the wintertime, they've added these heating lamps. So to make it, but we've been under so much snow. I've been takeout, no sitting.
Yeah, that's interesting. So if you're looking at a structure, we have some of those that are here. I just wonder if how you can eat without a mask and then be in a structure with only one side open. I'm still trying to reconcile that in my brain. I can't find a place
you're really,
that I can't find a place
it's
in
frightening,
there.
Marsha.
No, it's not frightening because I'm not going. But, but I just can't see it. There's no way I can't reconcile it in my brain. I really can't, because there are still walls and you're still moving, and then you have to worry about the little droplets. So, and you see all this gray hair, girl, I got to be real serious about this. Ain't no joke, right? So I don't know. I mean, I think that everybody has to make their own decision. You can't rely on anybody else. You've got to make your own decision, and whatever those decisions are, you have to be comfortable with whatever that is. And so I'm not trying to tell anybody to do what Marsha does at all. Do not do, because she's so extreme. It doesn't even make any sense what she does. Because she ain't trying to hear none of it.
Tammeca, we haven't seen Marsha for a year.
Right. Well, yeah, it's almost a year. It'll be March.
Johnny said he's going to send out a search party to make sure she's actually.
He knows where I am. He knows exactly where I am. I have not moved. I am right here. I'm up on the second floor, and I'm redesigning how I'm functioning in here.
I love your bookcase in the back. That's beautiful.
Yep. So it used to be someplace else, and I'm doing all kinds of stuff going on. Yeah, but I'm not doing that. Everywhere. What? What
are you saying? He's talking about you taking
and ultraviolet.
No question. No question. And I think Amazon's delivering those this afternoon. So. And it got the bleach water at the front door, right in the bucket. And the sprays right there. It's all right there.
Right.
I got a serious question for you. Number one, how is the governor doing? They were joking him on Saturday Night Live.
Man, yes, they were. What is up with him?
You know, I was a strong supporter of when he first implemented everything, because I was like, we got to be overly cautious. We just need to shut everything down. We all need to just stay at home. And I was 100% behind the over caution. This is where but I also, again, former mechanical engineer, I only believe in science.
Okay.
Is the science falls apart when we can let indoor dining happening with no mask on, but indoor fitness with mask is banned. It makes no sense. Mm-hmm. The science falls apart. But I also have realized that he's no longer listening. He wasn't listening to science, but he's no longer. Now it seems to be kind of a power trip on, I'm just going to keep everyone closed because I can and I have the power to. So I will say my initial, admiration for him is slowly dwindling. Mm-hmm. And dwindling in the fact that I just feel like he's no longer listening to actual science.
Is that why they joked him on Saturday night?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's more the sense that it's become too much of a power trip for him now. Yeah. Before it was definitely, and the science before just said we need to stay home, and I was 100% behind it. But now I'm just like, okay, you're not listening to the science, and you're just making random. He's made so many statements against fitness studios, and I always have a problem when we're willing to push drugs, but we're not willing to push preventative measures.
Right.
And so he's not willing to think about something while he's not thinking about food deserts, and he's not thinking about, building our natural immune system. But instead he's like, oh, we got to get indoor dining back. Well,
but that has one thing doesn't have anything to do with another. And if you're going to be indoor dining, then you're setting up yourself for failure. So that doesn't even make sense to me.
Well, but to me, if you're saying that you're more concerned about people and, we'll do what we can to get the businesses back, then care about the people. Like, do what you can to make sure the people are actually healthy. Make sure that you're rolling out all these protocols to make sure we can all get the vaccine. We can all get what we need for preventative measures. But then, focus on that. Not, okay, I'm going to open up businesses because I've gotten too much pressure and I've been sued by a lawsuit.
Oh, wow. So is there a rollout plan for, how these businesses are going? Okay. Well,
no rollout plan. It's based off of his feelings.
He's just shooting from the gut.
Yeah, it's just based off his feelings.
It's his ego, and he's trying to protect himself legally.
So it depends on which lawsuit comes. It's been a track. If there's a lawsuit that comes that's getting some weight, then he suddenly opens up the business. Mm-hmm. Which then means it's not based off of science. It's based off of politics.
At all. He's not paying attention. He's not paying attention to the people who are the experts. So this is his ego and his own personal finance that he's worried about right now.
Well, to his credit, I enjoyed seeing him swing on Donald Trump.
I think we all enjoyed that.
Yes.
But Trump is gone now, and so it's almost as if Cuomo, the spotlight is on him solely in his decision making, and I'm hearing you say it's not going well.
Well, his decision making is just shooting at the hip, right? There's no strategy behind it. There's no science behind it. It's what he feels at the moment, which is a problem. I mean, there's literally people's lives at stake. And so we need to not just trust how he feels in the moment.
Tammeca, you recently mentioned the rollout, or Kavette posed a question regarding the rollout of the vaccine. Your thoughts?
Well, it's obviously not gone well in New York City. What we saw in New York City is up in Washington Heights. You're seeing people coming in from Jersey to take those vaccines. Yes.
What?
I presume they were not Black people?
Not at all. And I had a client who mentioned, she was like, this is the first time I've seen this many white people in Washington Heights.
That's
Washington
ridiculous.
Heights is historically a Hispanic community.
Right.
And what you saw was people driving over the bridge from Jersey, jumping the line and getting the vaccines. And it's absolutely ridiculous. There was no things in place to stop it from happening. Just recently, they just finally got a Spanish translator at the site. Exactly. It makes no sense. And Washington Heights is, I would say, about 80% Hispanic.
Right.
How do you not have a Spanish translator on site?
They had an English translator.
Right.
I mean, come on, in that kind of community.
In that kind of community, you should have the dominant language being there.
Right.
And the rollout to me is, it's almost, it's just sad how it's happening, because to allow people to jump the line is ridiculous. And there's nothing stopping them.
We had a similar situation here in not Baltimore City, but Northwest Baltimore County, majority Black community. And at the Liberty Resource Center, it's been brought to my attention that maybe 85% of the people, and this is an upwardly mobile, this would be our Long Island, I think, Marcia. 85% of the people in line getting vaccinations were white, and that's a majority white.
So the question becomes, though, seriously, is if the white people have come, but have the Black people decided that they're not going to get the shot? So they're not even there because they're not planning to take the shot.
Are they not getting the appointments? Because that's, one thing. If we're choosing not to get the shots, that's on us.
Right.
But if we're not getting the appointments and not being able to even get in line, that's a problem.
That's a different issue.
Yeah.
Well, you talk about them coming in, jumping the line. So obviously the line of people from the community who wanted to get it in Harlem.
But why wouldn't they have the authorities there to manage that process? Yeah. And that, to me, would be a question for the mayor and for the governor. And what happens, because there's a disparity here. If Black people are so I'm just wondering who the Black people were to allow a white person to jump in front of them. So I just, that right there speaks volumes, because I don't know that somebody could have jumped in front of me.
But see, here's the thing: when in a community such as Washington Heights, online appointments also is a concern, right? Many don't have Wi-Fi access and computers at home.
Right.
So they're just coming and showing up and hoping to stand in line, because sadly our community is used to just standing in line for our healthcare.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, you have people in Jersey that are jumping online because they have access and they know how to, and so they get the appointment.
Okay, there you go. That's a whole nother conversation.
Yeah.
So are the churches or what other public facilities have that capability, and how can they market to the community? So if you have all of these council people that are supposed to be in, all of the congressional bodies, they should be setting up places where people can get appointments and have access, set up computers in a more public environment for people to be able to make those appointments.
Yeah.
I don't want to get personal, but what about schools reopening?
So my son is he's in Catholic school, and so they've been doing he goes Monday, Wednesday, and then at home Tuesday, Thursday, and alternating Fridays. They limit it to a maximum 5 kids per classroom at a time, and so we felt very comfortable with him going on his alternating schedule. One, because it's only 5 kids, and then you get to know those parents, and you get to see, and you follow them on social media, so you can know what they're doing on weekends, and so you feel a little bit more comfortable. So we felt really comfortable with him going in on those days. I honestly don't think we should be opening schools unless all the teachers can get vaccinated.
Right.
Like, you're putting them right at the front line.
Yeah.
Right.
It's frightening.
It's frightening that we don't value education and teachers when
Yeah.
every single person had to learn from a teacher. Like
That's exactly right. Well, we
Yes.
homeschool. Sandy homeschools Peyton, and it's a good program. So there are videos. There's a whole lot of multi-dimensional for that.
Tammeca, what have you seen that inspires you?
You know, what really inspires me is my son. He is, you know, he can find joy in literally anything. Anything. I mean, the most mundane task. Just last night, I'm printing out some sheets for him to take to school. And as the printers, you know how the printer makes a little noise, he's like dancing, doing the robot. And I'm like, any little thing brings him joy.
That's awesome.
I love it.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's great. That's great.
Absolutely.
So what would you do if you could change 3 things that are going on up in Harlem now?
Whew. Just 3?
You said go high.
Top three.
I would make housing more affordable in Harlem. So we're seeing it. The reason there is a Whole Foods is because gentrification is real. And when that Whole Foods came, a lot of us left, and we were forced out. Our rent prices have gone up, and they're just slowly coming down because of COVID, but they're going to go right back up. So I want to see where we can actually still, like, when you think of Harlem, you think of people of color. And right now, if you walk the streets of Harlem, you'd be like, is this Harlem?
Right.
So we need to make sure we can still stay here.
Yeah.
And not just from renting, but from ownership.
Yep.
So that generationally we can stay here.
Absolutely.
Second, I would want to make sure that we're having quality health options. The fact that we're still the only indoor cycling studio is a concern to me. I mean, I'm not telling other indoor cycling studios to come because we're good. Harlem Cycle will take care of it. But the fact that 5 years in, all the, New York City has over 60 boutique cycling studios in the city, and none of them thought that above 92nd Street had value. That's a problem. They didn't see the value in our community. And we need boutique options because, the big box gyms don't cut it. They don't give us what we need.
Mm-hmm.
So that's number 2, is getting those health options for us to take care of ourselves. And 3 is, of course, something when it comes towards our diet and our food. I just completed becoming a nutritionist. And, one of the things as I was studying, I was like, why do we keep talking about kale? Why are we talking about collard greens? Why are we talking about collard? Like, why are we talking about culturally appropriate foods in these same dishes? And then I remembered because all these diet standards were based off of, white American society, but we need to translate that for the community so we can know. Like, kale is not better than callaloo. It's not. I promise you it's not. Not from a nutrition standpoint, not from a taste. And so making sure these food deserts don't exist, but also making sure that we're tailoring what we're providing to our community so that they can live a healthy option without having to dilute their culture.
Tammeca, we don't want to steal too much of your time, but one, thank you for coming on the show. Thank you for supporting our efforts in the Black media. Any words of encouragement, particularly to Black women business owners across the country?
Stay in there, guys. I mean, literally, you can't run a race if you're sitting on the sidelines. So stay in there, stay focused. It's gonna be hard, but you gotta push through. I mean, that's literally what I have to remind myself. Like, you can't think about the finish line if you're not even in the race.
Marsha, you're muted. We can't hear you, Marsha.
I had some background noise I didn't think you all wanted to hear. So, so I don't know. I think I'm just saying that, we've got to really think as women in business about how we can continue to work together of color. And just as you were talking about sharing and, giving and bringing all together to go to a bank, we need to be doing more of that and bringing ourselves together where we are working as a union. There's power in numbers. There's power in numbers, and we need to really take advantage of all of the intellectual property that we all have, and everybody brings something to the table, and we need to make sure that we strengthen ourselves and within our own community first.
Tammeca, we're so proud of you.
Yes, girl, I am.
Thank you so much, guys.
I am right on, girl. You just hold it down. Hold it down. Hold it down.
I'm gonna be here. I keep telling you, I'm not going anywhere. I'll be right here in Harlem if you need me.
All right. Just
If
hold
you
it
ever
down,
need
baby.
us, you let us know.
Yeah.
And we'll
Well,
see you soon. Thank you for
see you
joining us.
soon.
Tammeca Rochester, Harlem-cycle.com.
I love
Thank
it.
you. Thank you,
Take
guys.
care. God
Good
bless
deal.
you. Mhm.
So,
All
Marsha,
right.
how have you been? How was
I'm
your
good.
weekend?
It was nice and quiet.
Okay. You
That's
do
what
any
I
work?
needed. Yeah, I did. I did all this. I'm moving everything around and resetting. You know how you reset the program, the StreamYard, you reset. Well, that's what I'm doing. I'm resetting.
Marsha, we'd like to have all of your friends share this video. We'd like you to like this video. We want to also say hello to Alexis. Alexis Coach joined in this morning.
Oh, good.
Michael Haney
Hi.
Sr. We have not seen Michael Haney Sr. in a minute or two. And then also Richard McClern.
Oh, good. I'm glad they were watching. That's
I think
good.
he called himself Big Rick.
Big
Okay,
Rick.
Yvette Minor Kane, how have you been? Welcome back. You know, Marsha, Yvette was
Yeah.
not feeling well. We glad that she came back. What's happening, Yvette?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm doing very well. I'm feeling much better. I can't say very well. I'm still taking my time, but I'm feeling much better than I was last week. Just a kind of a life lesson in making sure that we, take the time to rest. And I know for me personally, a lesson in self-care. There are some things that I had put off for a while, and I'm glad that I, got my doctor's appointments and things in play, and that I'm caring for myself at this point in time,
Good.
the way that I need to. Yeah. So it's been really good, and taking the time to rest.
Michael Haney, we just put a link in there in case you wanted to join us. But Marsha, as we were talking with Tammeca, any thoughts come to mind as it relates to Baltimore? We talked about gentrification, food deserts, healthcare.
We have a lot of those issues right here. We have food deserts. We have issues with food, with just trying to be able to keep small businesses and minority businesses in play and being able to work together as a unit. We've got all these different organizations, but we all need to be coming together. We can't be isolated. We have to really sit down and talk about who we are as a community of businesses and working together and doing shared resources.
Marsha, we have to get Industrial Bank on this show. We also have to get Harbor Bank on this show, because as COVID is going down, we certainly want to do our part to bring attention to our Black banks. Now, there's some people who don't believe that. They don't, believe it's our job to support our Black banks.
But we don't care what they think.
Huh?
We don't care what they think.
That's right.
We don't care what they think.
We're gonna do it.
Oh, okay.
We don't care what they think, because the Jewish people go to the Jewish people, the white people go to the white people, the Hispanic people go to the Hispanic people, Black people need to be going to the Black people, period. And so I don't care what they think. We need to be doing what we need to do to handle our business because it ain't colder. The water ain't colder, for real.
It all freezes at 32 degrees.
It ain't colder.
So Kavette, how are things in Prince George's County?
Peachy County has been a hot mess. When I looked out the window this morning, it was snowing. My incident last week had to do with some ice. So obviously this weather has not been a friend to me. And, having been accustomed to island living for a number of years, I miss it. I got my yellow wall so that I would have sunshine in my face.
That's funny.
For this yellow wall.
I love the pearls.
Oh, thank you. I'm trying, and see, that's the thing is I'm trying to do everything I can to brighten up my space, to brighten up my mood, my emotions, because this time of year, even before, having moved to the island and being under that amazing sun with the sand in my feet, I'm sorry. Even before that.
Can you come back? Come back. Come back. Come back. Come on back. Come on back. You can't,
right?
You can't forget about it.
Look, I'm trying to keep it right here.
Forget about it. Forget about it's called snow.
And for many people,
white snow. White. This is what it looks like outside. White snow.
But for many people, even the seasonal, what we call it is SAD, a seasonal affective disorder, which is real, because we lose that sunlight, and we lose the interaction with other people, and we need that interaction. Even if we're introverts, we need to
get a sun lamp. No, I'm serious. I'm not kidding. Get a sun lamp. Sometimes that's helpful.
Absolutely. I know for me, I'm having yellow light versus the blue light. So I've got a blue light in my
raccoon eyes like Donald Trump.
Stop. No. No, we're not going to the tanning beds. We don't need that. But we do need to get out in the sunshine. And so walking around is absolutely helpful for us. So things like what Tammeca's doing, where she's allowing us to have an opportunity to stay, continue with the workout online, that absolutely helps to boost our endorphins. It helps to help us feel better. If we can do things like her son and just find the joy and, dance to the printer machine.
Right. All of the above.
Absolutely. Take a moment to dance and have some fun and relax. And smile, smile at yourself for 30 seconds to 60 seconds every day in the mirror, and tell yourself how amazing you are, because we are.
I love me.
I love me.
I love myself.
I love you too.
I am healthy. I am brilliant. I'm kind. I'm loving. I'm giving.
Mentality is half the battle. The other is the activity, So I know for me personally, it's about, financial advice is what I do. And so, but I have to help my clients to get their minds right in order for them to be able to.
I got a financial question for you.
Yes, sir. How can I help you?
If on my next credit application, I put down my race as white, what will happen?
You go to jail because you lied on the thing.
Right.
How you know I'm not white?
You gotta stop.
I know that's a good tan. Was that induced over in Africa? You went to Africa and you stayed in the sun for like a year. And you just what you do with that? How you do that? Why are you funny? Look, and then we get indignant.
Suppose I got a cheaper rate.
What?
Well, and that's
a cheaper rate.
But you can.
Okay, so
why does my race matter? Why is race on the application?
Because they want to know if you're colored.
Well, I'm white.
Who told you you're white?
Who told me I'm black?
What does your birth certificate say?
What I put on there.
Oh, okay.
Go get a new one.
You have to go get a new one.
Right.
Can you do? Isn't that illegal?
There's no law that says you got to put down. It's illegal. They took them Indians' land. That's coming out in my book.
You're so funny. Yeah. Okay. So we're gonna look forward to reading that book.
On Black Wall Street.
Okay.
But those who know that we need to make sure that we're paying attention to what we're doing with our money these days, because this is absolutely an opportunity, as Tammeca brought out, for us to pivot in how we are supporting our Black businesses and making sure that they are getting our monies so that those businesses don't continue to go out of business and stay out of business, because then we'll have other communities coming in to serve us and we're not going to be happy with that.
Yeah. And that's what they're doing now.
Yeah.
Absolutely. All right.
Good deal. Thank you for joining us. I want you and all of our listeners to know that tomorrow we're very pleased to bring you William Murphy. Billy Murphy Jr. will be our guest tomorrow here on the BlackUSA.News morning show.
Oh, wonderful.
It will be one powerful hour.
Oh, I'm sure about that. Hold on. Wear your seatbelts, y'all.
You've been warned.
Buckle up.
All right. Yeah.
You want to take us out, Kivette?
Yes, well, thank everyone for joining us this morning on Black USA News Morning Show. Thank you so much, Marsha G's. It's been awesome to have you here again with us this morning. Thank you, Donnie, for hosting. You the hostess with the mostest, as always. And I look forward to seeing everyone again. Come on, you got to take us out.
Up today, down tomorrow, do your day and everything will follow. Nothing to it but to do it. I got to do it, regardless of how I feel. I am somebody. I am my brother's keeper.
Amen.
Good morning.
Right.
Good morning, Baltimore.
Good morning, Black USA.